How does this Alonso situation compare to what Judge went through 2 years ago?
Well, similarities are two homegrown all-star players who are about to cash in New York City. And similarity would be, I would say, that as with Judge, I expect this to go to free agency. I think that was a big part of what Aaron went through. He wanted to test the market, obviously went out there and met with the Giants, met with the Padres. The Rays even got involved for a little bit. He wanted to see what else was out there and then wound up coming back to the Yankees, believing that was the best fit for him. I would expect Pete Alonso is going to do the same thing. He's a Scott Boras client. Typically, they do test the open market.
All right, Ann, is Pete capable of a Judge-like performance in 2024 to cash in the way the Judge did?
I don't know if he's going to hit 62, Sal, but I do think that he is primed to go after the big season, to have a platform year, to be in free agency. And look, there's a world of talent in that guy. He's got more home runs since he came to the major leagues than anybody else. And there's some pretty impressive power hitters out there, including Aaron Judge. So, yeah, I do think that he is ready to do it. He hired the right guy to take him to free agency because that's, as Brian said, that's what Scott Boras does. He wants the market to dictate the value. So he knows how important this is. And, look, I think very highly of Pete, and him with laser focus on this, I think, is only good things for the Mets, at least in terms of results on the field this season. There's a lot of wild cards that now come into this that maybe didn't exist when the Mets had more control over him. But, it'll be fascinating to see what his free agency is. Yes, Steve Cohen can pay the most. We know that. But all sorts of things float around when somebody gets on the free market.
And I've always felt like there's been this battle back and forth, maybe not on Judge's side, but Alonso trying to be the Mets version of Judge, or saying, okay, well, if he could do that, I could do it even better, especially when it comes to home runs. So I would not be shocked if Pete goes out there and at least pushes a historic season, maybe not getting the record like Judge did, but at least threatens number 60. All right, let's make the call to the bullpen and welcome in Britt Giroli. Britt, do you think Pete could do what Judge did and have a potentially historic season in his walk year?
Hi, guys. Yeah, I agree with Anthony. I think, you look at the early projections from him and places like Fangraphs have him really having a solid year, a much better year than last year. So when you look at guys who are this close to free agency, as Hoke and Anthony and I have all seen, they have that little extra oomph, right? They're just a little bit more motivated to stay on the field, to play through a nagging hamstring, to go out there and have the year that really sets them up financially for the rest of their lives. This is that year for Pete Alonso. He knows how important this is. Scott Boras, as Brian Hoke mentioned, that factor cannot be understated here. But yes, I think he's going to go out and he's going to have a monster season. And whether or not the Mets are going to be the ones that are left standing for his services, we have months and months before that even becomes something tangible that we can talk about. But I think this is all good for the Mets because we are not certain what they are doing in terms of, we know they're not doing what they did last winter, but we know that they're not going to enter that rebuilding phase either. So Pete Alonso can put this team on his back and carry the Mets to perhaps a wild card berth.
And we also know, I think Met fans are freaking out a little bit. Oh, my God, they're not talking extension. We also know that if the Mets want Pete Alonso back, they are not going to lose Pete Alonso. The only way they lose him is if he gets some ridiculous offer, the way that DeGrom did, and they say, you know what, we just don't think this is a good investment. I don't anticipate that being the case, but Met fans need to relax. Pete's going to be motivated. He'll have a big year. I think the Mets will have a good year, and then at the end of it, it'll be like Nimmo. They'll bring him back.